Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackmon.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, and a deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackmon, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football, it's up for grabs, it's covered in the end zone by Will Blackmon for a Green Bay touchdown!
And now, here is your host,
Might send it over to Rick Bucher.
Rick Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Blackmon, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends on the United WeCast Network. I'm Rick Bucher. He's Will Blackmon, 12-year NFL vet and Super Bowl champ. You can catch him on NFL Game Day live, Sundays on the NFL Network and on Twitter at Will Blackmon. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report and at Rick Bucher on Twitter. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. All right, we're going to start here because you just said a really hurtful thing. You just said that I would make for a terrible coach.
You got to that so fast.
Why? That's hurtful. What was it about me setting us up for the show that you instantly go to that I was providing you with false confidence? Are you suggesting that I wasn't sincere?
I asked you, how did my mic sound?
Yes.
And you said, great. Better than great.
You've never sound better. And you weren't buying it.
I didn't buy it. I'm observing it right now. You said the same thing last week.
Fact of the matter is, you do sound good. You actually sound better. We've been bouncing around in terms of the software that we're using for our podcast. We'll let you know how this one goes. And if it doesn't go well, because a couple podcasts ago, we used the same software and it was a disaster for our producer, we're going to be calling them out because we're paying money for this particular software and it was not up to snuff the last time and they make big promises. So we ultimately will let you know. But we need to get to the news of the day, the biggest news of the day in my mind. Well, maybe the second biggest. Mike McCarthy being let go by the Green Bay Packers. We are going to get to that. But I want to hit with, this is being recorded Sunday night, and this is right after the San Diego Chargers making a dramatic comeback, down by 16 points at the half. And they come back and they end up winning 33-30 after not one, not two, but three attempts to kick the winning field goal with basically no time left. So what is your big takeaway as far as the AFC playoff picture is concerned after seeing the Chargers come back and beat the Steelers the way they did?
It's so confusing because right now the Steelers are up a half game or a game and a half. I had the Steelers winning this one. This was an important game for both teams. Interesting, with the Steelers losing, and then the Broncos are on a 3-game winning streak.
Where do you put the Steelers and the Chargers as far as the playoff picture is concerned?
Well, the Steelers, I think they'll still make it. Ravens will still make it, obviously. Well, not obviously, but they'll still make it. So I have them, Chargers, Steelers.
Yeah, as of now, the Steelers are still a half game up on the Ravens.
Right.
And so when it comes to obviously the Chargers are in the AFC West, their chances of winning the division are actually not out of the realm of possibility. The Kansas City Chiefs are 10-2, but the Chargers are right there at 9-3. But let's for this.
I think you might get some shuffling, but I don't think anybody would. I don't see the Colts or the Broncos or even the Dolphins. I don't see any of those teams sneaking in.
So you feel as if the playoff picture as it stands, the teams that we're seeing there right now are the teams that we're ultimately going to see in the playoffs.
Yeah. So New England, Houston, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, LA Chargers, and the Baltimore Ravens. I think it will stay like that. It might shuffle, depending on who wins the division, but I think that it will stand like that with those teams.
So you don't see the Colts slipping in or the Broncos slipping in ahead of the Ravens. No. To me, the Ravens, obviously there's a two-game difference between the Chargers and the Ravens. So I would think from the Chargers up, it's only a matter of that last wild card spot.
Right.
That could be in jeopardy. I believe the Ravens are vulnerable. Do you think the Steelers are vulnerable? Do you think that the Ravens could jump up and knock out and win the division?
Yeah, the Steelers are vulnerable, and I just put on the secondary. I feel like they do have a situation back there where they could be inconsistent, especially when it comes to the tackling. I don't think the tackling is very good. There are times where they could have help themselves out. I saw a couple of young safeties miss a couple of gaps on some run fits. So it's like the little details, especially at this part of the year, you're going to get a lot of running, a lot of playoff atmosphere type of things where you're going to see unfamiliar formations. Possibly you're going to see some different kinds of runs you haven't seen. And then this time of year too, a lot of people are injured. So you're going to have a lot of young guys having to step up. So I saw a lot of mistakes in that regards. And that's where I can see them vulnerable, where you look at the Ravens team and their defense alone, there's a lot of depth.
Yeah. It brings us to Mike Tomlin, because the discipline and the execution has been a thing that he's been criticized for. I am a big Mike Tomlin fan. I believe that some of that is a byproduct of the way this team is built and the way this team plays. But nonetheless, there's ample evidence for those who want to be critical of Tomlin. You just mentioned some of the shortcomings that the team has. How much of that do you put on Tomlin, or where else would you put it if not on him?
Well, I look at it like this. You have types of coaches. You have coaches that were coordinators and who still like calling plays. You have those coaches. You have coaches who, were coordinators or assistants and they don't really call the plays, but they are involved heavily with X's and O's, constantly having dialogue, have a sheet in their hand. Then you have generals. You have guys like Tom Coughlin, Mike Tomlin, guys who do a great job of just managing the team as a whole. He doesn't need to get in there and make this call. He doesn't need to make this type of play. He needs to be able to keep the chemistry alive despite whatever that the team is going through. He's able to keep everybody together and on the same page. So I give him tons of credit for that.
By the way, we could have done an entire show on your tweets over the course of the weekend, and we're not going to get to all of them, but I've followed some of the things you put out there on Twitter. One of them was about Jalen Hurts, Georgia and Alabama. Jalen Hurts coming to the rescue for the Alabama and still winning the SEC championship, et cetera, et cetera. And I believe it was Kirk Herbstreit who was lauding Jalen Hurts for being one of those guys who stuck it out with the team.
Yeah, I have here. He said, what an incredible example for kids out there that think that leaving for the greener pastures after seeing first time adversity is the answer. Jalen Hurts has shown amazing fortitude all year and has been an amazing leader and supporter of his teammates, and now saves his team's dreams.
Right. And I think it's fair to say you took exception to that.
I mean, I think because it's on the stage is magnified. Like the kid lost his job, right? And then got his job back during the game and helped lead the best team in the country to a victory. Did he get his job back for the rest of the playoffs? Like that's the question. But that's normal adversity. I'm sure everyone has been benched. Everyone has lost their job. Everyone has dealt with something. So we're like, I think everyone's blowing this like completely out of proportion in terms of, oh my God, he's been quiet all year. He hasn't complained. No, he's a great kid. I commend him for that. But it's like, okay. And my response was, greener pastures had a Heisman Trophy and number one overall pick for Baker Mayfield. I believe it is way more difficult to leave and to go somewhere else, to start fresh with a culture you weren't in and try to make yourself who you are. And for him to go in there without a scholarship, then get a scholarship, to earn a starting job, then to win the Heisman, like that's adversity to go through something like that.
Well, my problem is the implied message that if you don't do what Jalen Hurts did, that somehow you're in the wrong.
Right.
Like he showed great character by staying.
Right. That's why. Who was the message for? Like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to the kids who are real competitors?
Right.
And it's like, dude, I need a shot. I need a chance. I'm not going to sit here and just wait. If there's opportunity for me somewhere else to show myself, that's what I'm going to do. As opposed to how it comes across as, oh, he didn't just quit because he wasn't getting his way.
Right.
It's like, no, he's as a backup, he gets treated than most starters on other teams, you know?
And if it was a matter of, if Kirk, and this is Kirk in particular, because this is the problem that I have with guys who have really big platforms, and it feels like there's a certain agenda there. And for me, it is teams and coaches not losing players because they decided to go someplace else. And if Kirk were critical about coaches who left and went to greener pastures, who went to better opportunities, then I could buy the whole, hey, you should stick it out. You should stay where you are. You should be dedicated to the alma mater that you first matriculated with, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't hear that. And I have a real issue with there being a double standard between how we look at coaches who leave and players who leave. And that's what really rubbed me the wrong way about this.
Right. Paid coaches who leave.
Yes. Commending and coaches who leave and leave kids in the lurch who came there to play for them.
For them, exactly.
But we don't get any of that criticism, or I haven't heard any of that criticism. I haven't heard Kirk criticize any coach along those lines. And certainly this doesn't happen. I mean, this is one of the issues with collegiate sports is you don't see universities sticking by coaches in certain circumstances. They may be doing all the right things when it comes to the players and all of that, but it becomes a win-loss thing.
Right. Because that's all it's about. It's about the university at the end of the day.
Right.
It's about the university. I mean, look at Kyle Murray. He transferred from Texas A&M. There's tons of kids. I mean, that's why I'm all for, because it's crazy. Like around here too, it happens a lot in high school. So here in Orange County, there's tons of kids transferring. But I get it. If you compete really, really hard and you really go for it, not because like, oh, I'm not, it's difficult. I'm not getting, I get that, compete to where you can get your chance. Now, if you don't see it happening at all, by all means, do what you got to do. But I see it here too. A lot of kids transferring all over the place. But this is type of industry now, a world where there is opportunity everywhere, and you just have to go find it and figure out where it is. I was in a situation where, and I'm preaching because I was a selfless type of player. So at Boston College, going into my junior year, I was rated I think it was top 3 corners. It was me, Jimmy Williams, and I forgot who the third cornerback was. And I got approached by my head coach, Tom O'Brien at the time. He asked me if I wanted to move to offense full-time and play receiver. And my answer was, hell no. I said, did you not see Sporting News?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no way in hell.
Yeah.
I'm moving to receiver.
Yeah.
And it was because we had a big senior class of receivers. They all obviously graduated. And I did well at returning. So he always knew I had skill with the ball in my hands. And out of high school, I got recruited as a receiver and a defensive back and a running back. So we had about 4 meetings, I think it was. And finally, I was like, you know what? I see where we're struggling, we're missing. I'll try it out in the spring. I'll try it for spring ball. But as long as I can still play both. So I end up trying it out for spring ball, and lo and behold, I end up winning the damn starting receiver job. He still let me go there, but it's funny that I look at it. I knew it was going to hurt my draft stock. I knew it wasn't going to do anything for me. If anything, it just showed that I was a versatile player. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, this summer I ran into our running back coach who was at BC. He recruited me. His name was Jason Swepson. And we talked about that situation. He's like, oh, man. He said, yeah, we totally messed you up, man. He said, we really did. Moving you to offense, we totally messed you up with your draft status. And he said, I still feel bad about it. I said, it's all good, man. Like, now in that situation, I could have said no. Or if they wanted to play offense, I could have played defensive back somewhere else. And I just stuck it out just because I don't know. I was already comfortable with the system, with what was going on. And I just didn't feel like going somewhere else to start over again.
Yeah.
And I could see that in Jalen Hurts' case. It's like, well, he's going to keep competing. He's probably at the best place you can be for football and for life after football. He will be taken care of. Absolutely. 100%. So, yeah,
look, there are plenty of considerations. I hate when it's presented as It's a character reference or referendum. It's a referendum on a kid's character if he decides to transfer or he's unhappy with his role, because the fact is you got 4 years of eligibility.
Right.
You have a defined amount of time to be able to play and show what you can do. And if you're mistaken about your abilities, that the reason that you're not starting or you're on the bench or you're not getting your opportunity is because you're not good enough to play wherever you are, or you're whatever it might be, you're going to find that out when you go someplace. I mean, right? But on the other hand, maybe it is the system. Maybe it is they don't fully recognize or appreciate the skills you have. So again, my biggest issue just is we have no problem with coaches leaving and taking a ton of money to go someplace else. And they have far more flexibility when it comes to their careers than the players do. The players got this finite 4 years to deal with. Coaches have basically their entire adult life to figure it out, and there's no ceiling on the number of years that they can coach or how many different places they can go to.
Playing since I was 6 years old, sports in general, to 34, I've learned that in sports, you can handle adversity all day. You can always handle adversity. However, politics are undefeated.
That is really well said. And that actually, it takes us into our next subject, or the next subject that I want to hit. No doubt the news of the day.
Oh, yeah. Even my wife was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, because of the timing of it and everything else, and we're talking about the Green Bay Packers firing head coach Mike McCarthy. They did it almost immediately after the Packers lost to the Arizona Cardinals 2017. I couldn't help but think, Will, now this is a referendum. It's a referendum on the Arizona Cardinals. Like, okay, we've lost some games this year, but the hell if we're going to lose to the Arizona Cardinals. If we're losing to the Arizona Cardinals and only at home, only scoring 17 points
in December,
somebody's got to go. So with all that said, to me, this is an emotional reaction. If it's anything less than that, you're sitting back, you're gathering the forces. This happens tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't happen like right after the game. What do you make of the timing of this decision?
Well, like in any organization, an organization is going to do what's best for the organization. This allows them to start looking for head coaches. President Mark Murphy, he said it right in his statement. He said, we will immediately begin the process of selecting the next head coach. That's what he ended with. So it just gives them time to do their due diligence, because right now they're like, okay, the season's over. Let Coach Philbin finish it out. So
you don't see Philbin as being a candidate for this job going forward?
Not at all. No.
Because
he's been there. Even when he was there, he wasn't really calling the plays. And I'm sure they're going to want somebody young and explosive. They wanted McVay. They want a Nagy. They want a Shanahan. They want Lincoln Riley. Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. So this is also, you got a new general manager that just came in. And
yeah, good coach. Right?
Yeah. And obviously Mike was not his guy. He was there before Brian took the job. We always see this.
Yeah.
GMs want their guy. Were we on the track to this happening anyway, and it just maybe happened a little bit faster because of the way this season has gone? And certainly the beginning of the year, people talked about the Packers as being a Super Bowl contender. And I don't know where their percentage is after the Cardinals lost, but it was at 3%. The chances of making the playoffs was at 3% going into that game. So I'm going to have to think that it hasn't improved, even though the Vikings ended up losing as well.
And the Bears. The Bears.
To your New York Giants, by the way.
New York Giants.
You know what? I don't want to skip around, but I'm going to skip around because I have to ask you. The Giants end up winning 33-30. They win in spite of the fact that there was an onside kick that the Bears recovered, and there was a lot of criticism. I don't know if you saw. I assume you saw the video
of the business decision
of the. So, Odell Beckham Jr. had an angle on the ball, but there was going to be a collision involved. Is that fair to say?
100%, yeah.
Okay. And he kind of backed off and then was very forceful afterwards, saying, you can't question my heart, can't question my effort. Those two things.
But you can question that play.
Okay.
You can't question his heart. He loves the game. He's a very smart player, as you saw.
Right.
And he's a very passionate guy. No, this has nothing to do with his toughness. This just has to do with, okay, do I want to get concussed right now?
Yeah.
And hopefully it bounces off them and then I can react afterwards. Because initially I think he was going to slap it out of bounds. All he had to do was actually just cradle. Don't dive in head first. Just cradle. Just roll over and give you back to the team. Yeah, that was a straight business move right there.
And so do you have, in the big picture, because fans are going to look at it and they want everybody to go all out all the time. That's the instant reaction. Oh, you were scared. Oh, you played soft, whatever.
I know, because one guy here is like, oh, because I posted a video of Odell making a great block against the Niners, and he came back weeks later like, oh, Odell soft. You see him?
Was that Matt Lombardo?
I don't know.
Because there was somebody that you responded to again on Twitter who was a Giants beat writer, and I think your quote was something.
No, this guy wasn't a writer. I said it's getting old about Eli can't.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yes, it was the criticism of Eli, the suggestion that is it time for him to lose his job.
No, I'm sure he's declining. He's thrown over 7,700 passes.
So what did you mean by this is getting old?
Because they keep talking about his arm strength. It's like, okay, he's played forever. He's like 15 years or whatever, and I'm sure something has decreased. Speed decreases. Arm strength can decrease. Peyton's arm strength went down. A lot of players' arm strength goes down.
So coming back to the business decision by Odell Beckham Jr., I was just watching a clip about Christian McCaffrey trying to block. It was a pass rusher who had a good, 60 pounds on him. And the point that was being made in the illustration was anytime you're going to ask a running back to make this kind of full-on block, when a guy's got a straight line, when the guard who was occupied elsewhere, you're going to lose that battle. There's no point in game planning for that. So I wonder, is there any element to this where you look at it and go, for what Beckham is and for what he does, this idea that you want him to sacrifice his body in that instance is not necessarily a smart play.
Yeah, it's not. But he's there because it's the hands team. So
is there any explanation, just because the ball's taking weird bounces and it's kind of hard to anticipate?
Nah, he got to get that.
Okay.
There's no explanation. He has to get that. It was a business move. Not happening.
Fair enough. What do you make of the fact, obviously, Trubisky's not playing for the Bears? What do you make of the Giants fighting back and winning that game?
Well, it was a good win because the Bears are a good overall team. And the difference with Trubisky is his mobility. That's what you see. He's able to run around, get rushing yards, create time, make plays outside the pocket. That's what makes him dangerous. And for them, they weren't concerned with anything Chase was going to do. So it didn't help. They had the pick six early and then another pick after that. So it was a good win for the Giants.
One of the other tweets that you had was in regard to Mike McCarthy being fired. Don't worry, he'll be fine. You listed some of his accomplishments. Don't worry, he'll be fine.
Right.
Do you expect him to coach again in the NFL? What did you mean by he'll be fine?
I 100% expect that because he is a successful coach. I think he's ranked 26th all time for winning percentage at like 60%. And he definitely belongs in there. I think he was the third longest tenure coach. Belichick, Marvin Lewis, pause, Mike McCarthy, Sean Payton, and Mike Tam.
Cincinnati doing Cincinnati things, as a friend of mine once said.
Cincinnati doing Cincinnati things. And he's a good football coach. I mean, you look at it, the past 2 years, that's where they've been struggling at. But he's 125 and 77-2. And that is the best record in the entire NFC since 2006, since he's been there. He's had 5 11+ winning seasons and brought a Super Bowl to the franchise. And he only had 2 losing seasons in 13 years.
So a lot of people are going to look at that. I mean, the devil's advocate is immediately going to say, okay, that's Aaron Rodgers more than it is Mike McCarthy.
That's what everyone's saying. They're saying he had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and won 1 Super Bowl. Well, it's a whole team thing. Our defense, we had good defensive players, but, our coordinator at the first time was Bob Sanders, didn't utilize, I guess, everybody the right way. And then Dom Capers was doing well. Then everybody figured that out, and that defense went all over the place. It was a matter of trying to get the right players personnel-wise. And I think that's where they had to improve, and that's why they brought in Brian to be the new general manager. So, like I said, it probably was time, but Mike McCarthy is a very, very, very good football coach. And he will be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns next year. So, anyhow.
Oh, you're calling that. You're calling your shot right here. I like it.
John Dorsey, bring it, Mike. Why not?
Bruce Arians is going to fight him for that. How do you feel about the fact that Bruce Arians is angling for that job? Like, I
could see Bruce in Green Bay, though.
Oh.
I can see him there.
What's your take on him as a coach?
He challenges players. He challenges players who think like Aaron Rodgers, who are real cerebral and just go about a business type. And I think he will challenge him.
Why did it not work for him in Arizona?
I don't know.
See, my concern is that he caught everybody's attention by what he did with the Indianapolis Colts and stepping in for Chuck Pagano when Chuck Pagano got sick. And I just wonder if there was an emotional rallying point for that team that Arians was able to take advantage of as the head coach that is hard to replicate. You know, that was a special circumstance and he ended up looking really good because of it. But was it because of what he was doing, or was it because that team was fighting for Chuck Pagano and wanting to do something to honor him, thinking they weren't sure he was going to survive?
I'm sure a lot of it factors all in that. You know, things like that definitely make you play harder, bring people together and bring you closer. You know, you end up forgetting about like personal achievements. Like, it's not about me anymore because there's somebody dealing with a worse situation. So I think that definitely played a huge factor in bringing that team together. But somebody who can challenge Aaron Rodgers, but also it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason, who they bring in. You know, what are they going to do?
Yeah, you put Mike McCarthy in Cleveland. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield is Aaron Rodgers, but is he Aaron Rodgers-ish? Or if he's not Aaron Rodgers, he's Brett Favre-ish?
He's definitely Favre-ish.
And so, you know, Mike's results with Favre were somewhat mixed. And I'm not saying that the Browns have their pick of the litter.
Mike would have had 2 Super Bowl rings had Favre not thrown a comeback versus 2-man.
Okay. So you don't see any issues with Mike and Baker. You think that combination could work?
Baker's going to figure it out however he can. He's just that type of guy. But what I do believe in, John Dorsey, Alonzo Highsmith, and Elliot Wolf to continue to build that team. And that team is what's going to help make it happen. It's the team. Ultimately,
when you look at what Mike and the Packers weren't able to do this year, and we won't go big picture, because as you already gave him an alibi on one play by Favre that cost him a Super Bowl, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Listen, because we already whooped the Giants in the regular season, and we were like, okay, if they come to us, it's going to be great. We're going to whoop them in Green Bay, and we're going to go and play the Patriots in that Super Bowl, and we were going to get it done.
Okay,
that was it.
That didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Okay, we'll just leave it there. We'll talk about that. So, is there somebody out there that you see coming in to Green Bay and making it happen?
You know, I don't know, man. Like I said, it'd be interesting. They just need somebody to, I guess, make the offense more dynamic. That's what people were curious about. Like, who's really calling the plays? Is it Mike calling the plays? Is Aaron calling the plays? They line up, they go 5 wide. Aaron makes checks here and there, gets the ball out, high percentage slant passes, and then runs around for a while and tries to find people open. It's the same thing over and over again. So all you do now is just, hey, we're just going to play cover 2 or 2-man. We're just going to splash these guys. We're going to whoop up their offensive line and hopefully get to Aaron. Aaron's working way too hard.
How much do you play Aaron down the stretch here, considering that you're conceding the season?
Well, I think I think he plays the rest of the year because this is also an interview for, Joe Philbin, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, you just said you can't see. You didn't say there's no chance he's getting the job.
I don't think he would. I don't think he will. But I'm just saying, he's there.
I was not impressed. I was not impressed by the way he handled Miami. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me I had no idea. Richie Incognito. I had no feel for the locker room. I don't expect coaches to know everything that's going on, but I expect them to know a little bit about what's going on. I didn't know.
But some coaches are like, you guys police yourselves. Like, I don't.
Okay,
care.
but you gotta understand, if you're a coach saying that, you got to say that knowing that you have the guys in the locker room that are capable of doing that.
Maybe he did. Maybe he thought that.
Did you think that? I mean, you look at that Miami Dolphins squad. I always looked at that. I was like, who are the leaders on this team? So if I'm thinking that, it wasn't clearly defined.
Like when I was in Jacksonville, if something was going on that was that serious, our play development guy was Marcus Pollard, former tight end. And Gus Bradley would be like, unless it's that serious, it doesn't need to get to me unless it's that bad. Like, you handle it, you figure it out. And if you need me to be in there, same thing. Coach Coughlin, he had a captain's group, and he always had meetings with them to discuss whatever they wanted to discuss, whatever issues they had, if they had any problems in there. Like, let's figure it out. I think like Justin Tuck was in there, Eli, I'm sure, I think Chris Nee, and I forget who else. I think Antrell Roll. I can't remember what it was. I know Tuck and Eli was for sure in it. And to figure it out. Same thing with McCarthy. McCarthy was like, just don't do anything stupid, no BS. And he understood conflict. He was like, conflict is good. Because when there's conflict, you guys have a chance to figure out what's going on. There's nothing wrong with that. And he kept it simple for us. He wasn't a huge disciplinarian. He just said, just don't do dumb stuff. Be on time, practice hard, play hard, play together. And it was cool. I love playing for Mike because he just wasn't all in your face. He didn't feel like he didn't, especially with our team, he didn't need to be because we had such a mature team.
When you look at the Browns, and I know you're looking at it from the outside, do you just collectively, and you talked about the fit with Mike and your group, do you think there's a fit there? Do you feel good about who's in that locker room and thinking that if Mike did go there, that it would work?
His style would work. Mike could work with anybody, but it'd be interesting. I'm sure they're checking out who they have there right now.
Yeah,
with Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens, who sounds like a mafia guru. Hey, Freddie Kitchens is in the house.
You know what? That's also like that area, Youngstown, actually, but that's where Eddie DeBartolo and his family are from. And there's been suggestions that Eddie D had his connections, shall we say?
Eddie D dabbled a little bit.
Yeah, and so it's interesting how Northern Ohio there seems to be a pipeline to.
Just really quick about Mike. I just didn't appreciate the like I said, I understand that it probably was time for him to go. I get that part. And maybe it is. But people are like the slander he's getting. Like people
from
are
Packers
lighting him
fans.
up. From Packer fans, like, are you kidding me? This is behind Curly Lambeau. This dude has the second most wins.
Yeah, but look, the fans that are reacting like that, first of all, it's Twitter, it's social, social media. People. Yeah, and it's also fans reacting to this season.
But right.
They're not going to sit back and go, yeah, you know what? Mike gave us some really good years. And overall, there's not
great years.
That's social media it does not take a temper view. Twitter is all about
it's right now. It's off field.
Shooting from the hip. How do I feel right this moment?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't even see, for example, the championship game last year when Tua threw that pass versus Georgia. And people may not have seen it, but they'll jump right on Twitter and react as if they just saw. Like everyone's super over emotional. That's why I love Twitter. It's hilarious because everyone's so sensitive.
Yeah, you have to take it in context. And you spend a lot of time there, and it's quality. Anybody who I'm telling you now, at Will WILLBLACKMON, he's a solid follow. I am thoroughly entertained by your Twitter feed.
Yes, thank you. And don't follow I don't have my Instagram back up yet, but there is one on there and it is not me. It is fake. It is faux. It is not real.
Yeah.
It has a picture of me and my wife, which is so creepy.
Man, I've seen that. I've seen that with a number of guys.
Beautiful picture though. Beautiful picture. You need to send me some of your people. You have 800 grand.
Dude, that's why I'm
buy those?
That's why I was Oh, what
those?
did you just say? You start out by telling me that I'd be a terrible coach, and then you suggest that my following is fugazi? Like what?
Oh, let me see these people.
Wow. I don't know who they are. I will say this, and I'll get to this later in the week.
Oh, see, look at all these bots.
Trust me. There is some sort of app that you can use to figure out how many legit accounts are following you, and I have a very high percentage. And Twitter actually, I was up I was around 840, and then they got rid of They did one of those house cleanings, and it went down to about what it is right now. So no, I think my 800K is a solid 800K. Who they are, I'm not exactly sure, but I want to thank each and every one of them.
Well, you have been on since 2009, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, and TV is a powerful vehicle. Look, I'm looking at the Kardashians. They got millions following them. There's people out there that have millions of people following them. Not only celebrities, but like people in my business and in our business. And I look at it and I go, why are you following them? Like, why are millions following this guy? He either doesn't ever put anything out on Twitter or don't really respect what he has to say. And I'm not going to name any names, but I just why people follow who they follow on Twitter.
Cool, Kanye.
That was Will Blackmon who said that. I just want to make that clear.
I by the way, I bought the Sesame Yeezys. I love his shoes and his first 2 albums. Actually, first 4 albums.
Way to qualify all that. You know what? It's like our president. You can't pick and choose. This isn't a la carte. You're either down with everything Kanye does or you're not.
All right.
You're not going to answer that, are you?
That's how you feel.
Yeah. You don't feel the same way.
That's your big area.
You're going to go a la carte. Okay. So we're going to have a double standard right here. Different strokes for different folks, as they say. All right. That is enough for today's episode. We still have a lot to get to. We still have to get into Kirk Cousins. We have
Do we have to?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because you were polishing, you were flossing Kirk Cousins last week. We need to get back to exactly.
It's not polishing and flossing. Those are 2 terrible. Like, you used those the wrong way.
I totally did. I was reaching. That's what happens at the end of the show. I'll come up by tomorrow's podcast. I'll come up with the appropriate phrase for what you were doing when it comes to Kirk Cousins. In any event, we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Vikings getting run over by the Patriots and what that says. We're going to talk about the Eagles because they'll be playing Monday night against the dilapidated Washington team. And what else do we need to get into? Oh, I do want to get into Andrew Luck and the Colts losing 2 field goals by the Jags. And who knows what else will come up in between. In the meantime, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. You can find me on Twitter at Rick Bucher. As I said, you can find Will at Will Blackmon. Don't follow him on Instagram. It's not him.
It's not me. I'll be back soon.
Yes, with plenty of interesting content, no doubt.
Oh, it's going to be chill. It's going to be just my life. Wine, dirt bike, family, my beautiful wife, beautiful kids.
I can't wait to see the dirt bike pics. I really can't. By the way, drop us a rating and review on iTunes. Please, just do it. It takes a second. Push a couple of stars. And you know what happens when you do that? You don't even have to write anything, but press the button on whatever stars, however many stars you want to give us. Screenshot it, shoot it to at Bucher Friends, and you'll be entered to win some free stuff. It couldn't be easier, and we got free stuff to give away. In the meantime, he's Will, I'm Rick. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.